June is celebrated as National Cancer Survivors Month. It's a month-long celebration of life and giving encouragement to persons battling cancer while giving assurance that survival is possible. After the break, we meet our guests. Stay with us. Welcome back to Morning Coffee Guest. I'm your host, Simone Absalom Gale. Joining us in studio are Assistant Treasurer at Jamaica Reach to Recovery and a cancer survivor, Julie Lynch, and cancer survivor, Hygina Reed. Welcome to the program, ladies.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with Miss Lynch. Why is it important to celebrate cancer survivors, Miss Lynch?
Well, I believe that the joy of living is our strength. And because of that, we have to celebrate each day. And so, whether you're ill or well, let's choose to make it a good day.
What are some of the activities that you will embark on for the month?
Well, because of the COVID-19, a lot of our activities have been scaled back. We usually have the Relay for Life, put on by the Jamaica Cancer Society, but that has stopped since the COVID. And we would have had our monthly survivors meeting from last Tuesday on the 14th. So that's it for the month, unfortunately.
But what about activities that would have happened before COVID during this month? Let's know about it.
Yes, so our flagship event was Relay for Life, put on by the Jamaica Cancer Society. And what happened at that event would have an overnighter. It was all the rave, and the corporate world would come in. Individual survivors would have a survivor's tent. And it began at 6 in the evening, usually with a declaration from the Governor General. And we would go all the way back till 6 in the morning. We'd close off with a little worship service and an exercise program. So that was the key event. And then we'd have little smaller talks and so on during the course of the month. But as I said, things have been a little low-key since the
All right, with that understanding do you think enough is being done to highlight the situation or the experience of persons who are battling cancer, or to make people more aware of some of the issues that are being faced? I don't know, medically, personally, mental health issues, I don't know.
Well, I must say programs like these help. More can be done in terms of public education, because as we try to make cancer lose the stigma of saying, the big C, people are going to die, this is a death sentence, we have to incorporate each and every one to say, there's life after cancer. Having a diagnosis is not the end of the road. It's a bump in the road, and we must acknowledge the bump, but it's not the end. And so I appreciate things being done by the Ministry of Health and Wellness and different programs on, but more can always be done to let others be aware of the illness.
That's reasonable. Miss Reed, let's bring you in here. Before you were diagnosed and comparing to what you know now, do you think you knew enough about cancer?
No, I still don't get enough. I don't know enough. At one point I thought I knew, but going along, regular interviews, seeing different doctors, I get different information about it. Some persons who already been through it, they inform me of certain stuff about it.
What do you wish you knew before that you know now? Like, I don't know, probably an everyday, tidbit of information, but if I wish I had been practicing this or doing this, or I had known.
What I think I should know before,
yeah.
I'm so sorry I didn't really close to somebody who was going through that illness. That was my point.
Mm-hmm. When did you get diagnosed, and tell me about the journey?
Well, my journey at first, when I got the news that I was diagnosed, yes, you know, I started to get anxiety. So, you know, at first some persons, they fall, fainted. But me was like, really? Is this real? When the doctor break the news to me, and I asked her more than once, so what stage is it? Tell me something more. And she was like, she gave me my referral to take back to the person who referred me to her to do the biopsy. And while she did, and she said, well, you catch it early. I said, early. And you know, my spouse was there with me to support me. And when she said you catch it early, I was like still sitting there and staring at her. And then I just burst out in tears and grabbed onto my spouse and started to scream. And she was like, well, happy to know that he's here with her to support her. And while I was there screaming, my daughter was on way to meet me there. She heard me screaming, so she burst the door, and the doctor was like, excuse me, you're not supposed to be in there. She said, what do you mean? Because she started to get angry now because she heard me screaming, so she know that something really wrong. And she heard when the doctor said, you catch it early. She grabbed the envelope from me and she opened it. She reached, she said, this is not early, and she sealed it away and she started to scream too. At that point now, I just get calmed down and trying to console her.
Mother's instinct kick in.
Yes.
But I want to know though, because a lot of persons, even though, you know, in the media they say, you know, you should do your mammograms or your pap smears and all these things,
yes.
a lot of persons still don't do it. I mean,
yes.
Jamaican people, you drink tea, you take pill, you go to bed. I want to know,
So true.
yeah, you know, a lot of people. So I want to know the symptoms that you were feeling. How did you get to that point where you had to do those tests?
All right. At first, I've been doing mammogram over the years because I had a coworker who is a police officer, and she was diagnosed. So there I started to get concerned and started to question her, what did she feel, and she told me about the lumps, and there I started to inspect myself and I started to feel lumps. So there on I started to do my mammogram. Every time I do my mammogram, they said nothing. So they sent me to do a ultrasound. Every time I do the ultrasound, they don't see anything. So in 2019, to be exact, 1 January, I was going to work. However, I feel my breast started to itch. So when I reached to work and I check, I see where it started looking woozy. And I said to my coworkers, you know, my breasts are itch me from, and I don't like how it look. And they say, you need to use olive oil. So I started to use olive oil every morning now. But it keep on coming back woozy and then dry up. So one Sunday after I finished cooking, you know, and feel to relax, I just started to feel weak in my stomach. And I said, I don't like how I feel, and you know, feel like I want to, I get in and I lie down. And then the Monday I couldn't go to work because I still feeling same. Tuesday I couldn't go. Wednesday same. Thursday I went to work. And by the next Sunday again I started to get the feeling. I don't go to work again for that particular week. So when I went back to Thursday I went to a doctor. And I said, Doc, I don't like, and he was saying like, it's full of like symptoms. The flu-like symptoms, but we're not going to know if I catch cold or anything, you know. So the breast was cancer, but it did heal up. So I said to him, Doc, you know, see my breast that itch me and I don't know what, but it heal up. He said, when last did I do a mammogram? I said, I did a mammogram in November last year. That was 2018. He said, all right, I'm going to send you to a derma because he who not believe that I did a mammogram in November, and then by January, February, I started to get
because
symptoms.
Because they usually tell you, at least once a year, so you would have...
Right.
Yeah.
So when he gave me the letter, the referral to go to the derma, and I went to her, and she checked, she said, any blood from the nipple? I said, no. When she see it was like, you know, it dry up, but it looked a little whitish in the nipple. So she said, all right, I'm going to give you some ointment, and don't wash your underwear with any other clothes, no fabric softener, all of those stuff. Check back in 1 month time. I was going overseas, so I said to her, I'm going to leave the island. So it's all right when I come back. While I was overseas, I was sleeping one night, and I feel like something was pressing in my chest, very heavy. So when I get up, I realized my breast was swelling. I had to put my hand underneath here to hold it up and go and use the bathroom. So when I wake up the morning, I said to my friend, you know, so my breast swell up, and And when I look at this side, it was like red, something like going to burst out. And she said, you never carry the ointment? I said, no. I call my son and tell him to send a picture if I can get it over there. However, that never happened. When I came back now and they called me at the dermo and said I have an appointment. I said, okay, I went to one of my coworkers, it's a male. And I said, Mackie, you know, say, I'm going to get an appointment for go so and so. He said, listen to me. Go for your appointment and don't you ever come and tell me that. Make sure you go. I said, all right, I'm going to go. When I went back and I said to the doctor, she said, okay, I'm going to send you to the ultrasound. I said, again? She said, yes. I said, weird this time because I go to this particular place so many times and not getting anything from it, so I'm not going back here. So she recommended me to go to Woman's Place at Tartan Park or Terrace. When I went there and the doctor did the ultrasound, she was like, When you started having these feelings, which doctor saw you? And she started to question me. So then I started to get concerned. So she said, who's to ever send you here with your referral? I have to call them to tell them what I see so you can do a biopsy. I said, okay. I get my appointment to go and do my biopsy. They say I have to wait for 10 days for the result. If you call them now, then can tell them. I call them from the first day. They say, hi Gina, at 10 days we say no.
Yeah, but it's in your mind now because no, they're saying biopsy.
Yeah, but just eager to get answers now.
All right, so fast forward now. So you wait the 10 days.
And the 10th day, it was so exactly on the 10th day when I called the receptionist in the morning at about 8:30 she reached work. She said, hi Gina, you know, so how long when I get it? I said, what? About 15 minutes time she come, hi Gina, we just got it. I said, okay. So I called my daughter same time and said, I'm going for my result. I go to one of my coworkers and I say, you can't follow me because she follow me, go do the biopsy, you know. So when I went to her now, then somebody start crying first. My hug up and I start crying. She said, no worry yourself. And then she said, you want to tell you're supposed to come with you? I said, okay. When I get the result, I supposed to take it back to the derma. When I went back to the derma, she wasn't there. So I leave and I go back to work.
So you got to you went to work with the results. So you didn't know what was in there?
Yes, as I said before, so my daughter came in and
so after the exclamation and everything, you went back to work?
Yes, I went to the derma and she wasn't there and I went back to work and I stepped in the office. And then everybody come around, start to support me.
So you got the support. So tell me about the treatment now. You were telling me off here that you got the treatment in like a couple days after.
When I went to the doctor, one of my coworkers called my gyna and he said because he know us, and he said, all right, give her this number, tell her to call this doctor. When I called the doctor, the receptionist was like, you have to make an appointment. I said, this is emergency. And she said, okay, you can come, but if you're willing to wait, I said, no problem. And when I went there and the doctor, my daughter, other coworkers come with me, and he was like, when I want to do the surgery, I said, as soon as possible. I said, okay, next week. So I said, no problem.
You know what you haven't told us all this time? And I want you to tell us after the break. So after the break, you're going to find out what type of cancer was she diagnosed with. Stay with us. You're watching Morning Coffee Guest. Welcome back. You're watching Morning Coffee Guest and we're talking to two cancer survivors. We're speaking with Miss Reed, and if you were watching before, it would be a little bit obvious. But if you just joined us, she was talking about getting diagnosed with cancer. So what type of cancer were you diagnosed with?
It was a stage 3 breast cancer.
Wow. So what did you decide to do? Only take out the mass itself or to do a complete... What's the term?
Mastectomy.
Yes.
Yes, I did a complete mastectomy.
All right. So I have to break your journey now. I want to learn about Miss Lynch.
Okay.
Your journey started how many years ago did you get your diagnosis?
I was diagnosed 21 years ago.
That's a long time ago.
Yes, I was in my late 20s. And that alone was a shock to me. I was like, wow. cancer, you know. I was classified as stage 1. And I wanted to keep the breast, but the doctor said with the size of the breast being so tiny and the fact that it was close to the nipple, I couldn't save the breast, unfortunately. But I didn't get to do a mammogram because they said at the time mammograms began at age 40. And so they did the breast ultrasound and then a biopsy. But the first thing was, let me back up a little. I noticed that the area had a thickness around the nipple. And for a stretch, I don't know, it felt like it went away to me. But then after a while, I realized it was actually still there. And I said, you know what, let me get this thing checked out. And I went by the Jamaica Cancer Society, and they said, oh, you need a breast exam. Let's send you to the nurse. And when I went in, it was a nurse I knew from otherwise. And she said, Julie, what you doing here? And then she was all happy to see me. But then when she started the examination, her features changed completely. And I realized right away that something wasn't right. And she said, does this thing hurt? And I was like, no, you know, nurse, it doesn't. And she looked even more serious when I was like, oh my goodness, this is not looking good. But she was very professional. I have to give her kudos. And then she sent me to get the biopsy. She sent me to the doctor, and the doctor wrote up for a biopsy. They took out a piece of the lump and tested it and said it had a cancer. So they took the breast off. So that was hard. That was hard because I kept saying, so young, you know. But at first, when I just got the diagnosis, it's like I don't think it hit home because I really didn't react badly. And the doctor and the secretaries at the doctor's office kept saying, did doctor tell you? Because I think they were expecting me to just go distressed, but I was very calm. But then as time went by, then I broke down over time, like after some days and so.
Tell me about support. How important is it? I know Ms. Reed said she had a lot of support.
Yes.
Right? But you are a part of an organization where you're seeing women who are dealing with this, a lot of women.
Yes.
Tell me about the importance of support.
Well, support is very, very important for good mental health and for just taking the journey with others. It really, really is important. So family support, friends support, and we have the group, Jamaica Reach to Recovery, which is the arm of the Jamaica Cancer Society. It's a breast cancer support arm. And so we have our meetings once per month. With COVID, we had gone online for a stretch, but we just recently resumed face-to-face in May. And we continue to meet every second Tuesday at the Webster Memorial United Church. And it's really good because before COVID, we had about 80-odd ladies on average each month coming to the meetings to just rap, just hang out. We get guest presenters to come to teach us how to eat better, how to live well, how to make the best of the current situation that we're in. And persons in the group look forward to it. It's like therapy to us.
How many persons are in the group?
Well, as I said, on average about 80 persons come each month prior COVID. Since we went online, we have maybe about 30, 40 persons on the platform. So there's been a bit of dip. But then some of our members are older ladies who maybe are not so up to date with the technology of getting online. But on record, we have over 100 persons on the group. And we do cater to men. Although I said ladies, there was a gentleman who came very regularly in our group because he just loved the support. I believe he had colon cancer, but he was very happy to come. And we're very welcoming. And if there are men out there who want to come, we have an open door. They can come right along.
How can we find you, though?
So we meet at Webster's Church each month, and I will provide our contact details in short order. We have a website, and that's a Jamaica Reach to Recovery, and we have an email address.
Okay.
And we do have a position at the Jamaica Cancer Society. So there's someone at the secretariat, and she's very, very accommodating. We, we offer support in whatever way possible. Sometimes financial, because we do have a little fundraiser each year that we try to do, or pink run, to try to raise funds for the group.
It's interesting that you brought up finances. I
Yes.
really want to delve into that. But before, you're a member of the group, you're a more recent member. How supportive, how did you find the group? When going through your...
I can't explain. I'm so happy. I'm there. I make myself available at every meeting. Whenever they say anything to participate in, that's me.
Why?
Because I just love fun, and I just love to see people happy. No matter what you're going through, you just have to be happy.
That's
So
true.
don't really take the sickness as something that, can't bother, and, just make yourself happy at all time.
Let's get back to the matter of financing, though, because when you have an illness like this, a lot of times you have to go through treatment, and they're not for free. Tell me a bit about how you go about helping persons in that regard.
So for the group, we have limited funding, as you imagine, because we're, self-supportive. So what we do is we try to assist with the markings for prior to doing the radiation therapy. Most persons try to access radiation treatment through the public hospital system. So it's done at KPH, and it's done at Cornwall Regional, and it's done at St. Joseph's Hospital. But the markings can run you about 80,000 just to mark out the area that they should send the laser to. Is about 80,000 and sometimes more. So you see right away we're looking at expensive money.
And that doesn't include chemo?
It doesn't include chemo. It doesn't include the actual radiation. If you're doing radiotherapy privately, there's also an added cost. So for the most part, that's what we are able to do now, to assist ladies where they need help. We also provide the bras and the prostheses, that's the breast form, at a reduced cost compared to all the other places. Because luckily for us, we get to bring it in duty-free, and we pass on that benefit to the persons who are buying.
All right. What was the situation like when you were diagnosed? Because you were diagnosed before a lot of this technology was available.
Yes.
Which part of it, was any part of it free? How did you go about getting treatment? Because I would imagine that the types of treatment have changed over time.
Yes. So at the time, I had done the surgery through KPH. So and KPH was not free at the time, because you remember a time before when persons paid in the public system, healthcare system. So, and also there's blood work to be done before, so we had to pay for that separate. And the chemo treatment, we bought the chemo drugs, and there are some drugs that you have to take to basically counteract some of the effect of the chemo, like the nausea medication and the medication to not give you constipation. So we had to buy those. So they were all expenses included. By the time I went to radiation unit, they said based on the type of the stage of the cancer, they didn't recommend me doing the radiation therapy. So I was spared that bill. But there's also a bill there.
So were you spared, though, in terms of your treatment? Did you have to do radiation and chemo and stuff like that?
I did chemo. I did 8 sessions of chemo.
And how did you get funded through that?
Well, my co-workers, my friends, my children, people overseas, friend, no friend. So everybody just chip in and just assist me. And then my daughter, she put me on insurance. So I got that
the parent assist kind of insurance.
So I get that fund to
Okay.
assist to do my chemotherapy.
Your words of encouragement, though, I mean, you're both bright, bubbling individuals. One would never know that you went through this traumatic experience.
True.
You were talking about some of the mental issues that you could go through, the support group. Your words of encouragement, let's start with you, Miss Reed, to someone who's going through cancer.
Just first thing, accept whatever is happening to you. That once you accept whatever is happening, whether it's breast, whatever cancer it may be, just accept, pray, take it to the Lord, leave it right there. And once you have as small as a mustard seed of faith, you will make it.
All right.
Just be happy, eat right, don't just dull up yourself.
Your words of encouragement.
I
Miss Lynch.
started ball if you want ball. If you get it out of your system, ball if you want ball. Just get it out. And that is therapy in itself, to just cry. Sometimes you have to just do a little thing. And then afterwards, don't stay there. Get past that stage of crying and start to choose happiness, choose joy, choose life. And as Hygiena said, eat well, eat right. Try to select. You see them salt and sugar thing, the people? Ease down on it, reduce, and just make sure as you hang out with those who are positive and give good energy and good vibes.
That's true, right? Hang out with people like Miss Reed.
Yes. And for males that have something for the males, feel up your breast, because breast cancer don't partial nobody, down to the male. So because I have a male person who know, I try to help motivate him. He has breast cancer. So men, feel up your breast, love your breast, just like the ladies. Ladies, feel up your breast, love your breast. I love my breast, that's why I know what was going on.
All right.
So that's a part of my encouragement. Right.
All right. Thank you, ladies, for coming to talk with us, to speak with us. I'm sure you have inspired a number of people watching the program. All right. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Those words from Eleanor Roosevelt. This has been Morning Coffee Guest. Join us next time for another episode. Thank you for watching.